I'm Behn Wilson, and you're watching Nasty Knuckles.
You're listening to Nasty Knuckles, the Hockey Outlaws podcast, with your hosts, Derek Nasty Sedemeyer and former Philadelphia Flyer enforcer Riley Cote, as they go behind the scenes with your favorite NHL players. Time to face off.
All right, welcome back. What's happening, Nasty?
What's up, Rigarelia?
Ready to rock today?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock. Got another tough lefty joining us here in a little bit.
I know. Scary.
That was the word on the street. He was a scary human. And a lot of people said it. But what's going on? How was the weekend?
Pretty strong weekend.
Disappeared off the face of the earth, playing some bongos with old Baller.
I was present.
Bids.
I was around.
You were present.
Yeah.
Where were you Sunday for the men's league game?
Oh, I was doing some family stuff.
We didn't
some
play,
Christmas.
so you don't even know.
Wow.
See? Doing some Christmas shopping.
Took the weekend.
You're
took
not
the
ahead
weekend
of
off.
the game. You're not ahead of the game.
I'm definitely not ahead of the game.
Don't
I've
act
never
like that.
claimed to be ahead of the game. I was just saying I did some Christmas stuff.
I did some Christmas shopping.
Well, it's still 2 weeks
downtown,
before. Isn't it?
Like get the love thing, whatever that is. I've
No,
never
it was
been
more
there,
like Christmas festivities. Little
okay.
gatherings.
Some
Got the tree
sugar,
set up. Got ahead of
sugar.
it. Oh, sugar.
Ahead of it. Most people put it up Thanksgiving.
Well, you were saying I was way too far ahead of it. I got the tree up.
I don't think you're ahead of it.
No,
to
I'm
be
definitely
honest.
not ahead of it.
No. That's
Still
all
behind.
right.
Haven't actually haven't acquired one present yet.
Acquired.
Purchase.
He hasn't purchased or acquired anything.
I guess there's no acquisitions in
Yeah, I
here.
Guess there
It's
isn't.
only purchasing.
Yeah,
Unless
he
you're
is
getting
purchased.
free
You
gifts
spend
for-
money. You got to spend some
Yeah, I
of that.
didn't
You got
acquire
way
anything.
too much of it. You need to spend.
Yeah.
You need to
It's that
spend.
time. So what about you? How was your weekend?
Great. Drove around for hockey up to North Jersey Saturday, Sunday. Had a tough game Saturday. Boys, we were up 3-0 and ended up falling 5-4 to the Avalanche.
Oh,
They're 15-0. They were 14-0. We went up 3-0. They found a way to come back and win. We came back Sunday with a win, and back up in North Jersey again. Different team, the Colonials, I think. But that was basically my weekend. And we didn't get to play our men's league game. They canceled. So
Just
I
intimidated?
think we won. Well, I don't think there's any intimidation. But I don't think anyone's
You don't
afraid
think
of
Behn
us.
Wilson
but
on the back end
I
there?
didn't
No?
know about Benny coming on. I didn't know we had the other big lefty, D-man, stepping in. But that was about it. Just hockey with Elvie.
Yeah. Pretty
it's
standard
just
weekend,
Pretty
it sounds
standard
like.
weekend. It's just like Groundhog Day a lot of times.
Yep.
But I enjoy every minute of it. I will say that.
We're looking fresh and ready to go. So
I'm ready.
Let's hear it.
What was that thing that you had outside there? I don't know what that was.
My
Smoke was coming.
djembe?
Djembe. No, I'm kidding. Since last week, we had a little bit of bump in the road.
happens.
It happens. Lost 3 straight. Came back Tuesday night with a big win on the road, actually, in Columbus.
Necessary win.
And I don't want to say an easy win, but I thought the Flyers way outplayed Columbus. But we can talk about that in a second. The Panthers lost 7-5 loss at home there. A lot of goals. You score 5.
That's a lot of goals.
You kind of want to win the game. Tip had 2. Matvei had 3 assists. And he continues to impress. I don't want to jinx him, but your number that you had for him looks realistic and plus if he can stay the way he's going.
Just the old scouting report. Now.
Well,
Put the time in.
Team's got to fucking look at that. And
You gotta check it out.
Your guess was right.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, that line of Frost and Michkov with Tippett has been pretty consistent over the last 5-6 games, however long they've been together. I was kind of worried because sometimes Torch likes to mess around with things, but he's kind of let them be, along with TK's line as well.
Yeah.
But come up short, go into Boston on that Saturday for an early game and lose a tough one in overtime. they were up 3-1.
Yeah,
it's when you don't want to lose that because Boston's kind of fumbling the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
They've been okay since Sacco took over, but
yeah, that was another one. They probably wish they had the two.
Yeah.
In obviously,
you get a point.
Still
but
get a point.
That one you hope for the 2, but Matvei comes up with 2 goals, and then kind of a tough loss there at home against Utah. They're a 500 team, just like basically where the Flyers are and a lot of teams realistically. And Tip ends up with a goal and Matvei another assist. But poor Frosty had a tough break there. Went to pick the puck up, man. That's what a bad. You just feel for anybody
the puck,
that happens to, right?
It's winding up, you're feeling the flow of the ice, and then you just
man.
leave the puck behind.
And I was impressed that Frosty. He did break his stick. I would have broke that thing into 10 pieces.
Yeah.
Like I would have had just the end of the stick in my hand. But I felt so bad for him because, like that line, like I said, they're playing, kind of leaving him alone and letting him play his game, and they've played really well lately. And just to have something like that, like it just sucks, man. As a player, and
moments after a disallowed goal, it was just like this.
Exactly.
The timing of it obviously wasn't optimal, and never is when you turn over a puck like that, but. It happens to the best of them. We've seen some crazy stuff.
It does. I think JJ brought up, or Bush, I can't remember who it was, but brought up when Marchand did it.
Oh,
on the penalty shot in
exactly.
Philly here. I think it was. I would think I was still with the team then.
That's right.
But anyway, Tuesday night, Flyers going to Columbus. Hate to say a must win, but really a must win. You gotta get back on the right track, and I thought they did. I felt bad for Sam. I thought I don't say the guy stopped playing, but a couple late goals kills your, like Bush was saying last night, kind of kills your numbers. I'm sure he's just happy to get the win, and the team played well. But TK came up 2 goals. Yep. He looked really good last night. Frosty had a goal and assist. Good to see. But it's a win they needed, and so tonight they got a home game here with Detroit. So hopefully they can stay on the winning track.
Yeah, that's the play. And you mentioned Tip and then that line, but Tip specifically, I feel like he's obviously scoring,
energized,
but he's a little more energized. Yeah, he's shooting the puck more from some of those angles that he was maybe not shooting from earlier in the season. Yeah. Having success.
Yes.
But yeah, I think he's going to keep skating the way he skates, and I think shooting from every angle because there's
100%
clearly obviously a lot of spray off these goalies, and. You got some good teammates, good line mates there to collect some trash there, obviously. So I like to see that, and I did also want to mention like Forster seems to be in that line. I think just got a little energy to it. They're clicking a little bit. I think we talked about it last week. Just like the little bit of consistency there. It's nice to see. So
it's funny, not like it's not a knock, but like kind of leaving them be. And let them try to get familiar with one another. I know sometimes you got to make changes. You got to get something going when things aren't going. I'm not saying that, but maybe them staying consistent with their lines and kind of creating more chemistry. At this level, you probably have chemistry with most players, but you can really see it kind of like
you can see it come together. Yeah, no, for sure
for them. So hopefully, they can keep going, get it. Like I said, get another win tonight and just go forward.
Yeah,
and hopefully goaltending stays where it is. Well, last night I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was bad all week, really.
Yeah.
The Florida game was a little iffy.
Yeah.
A few of the goals. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
Sometimes, yeah, exactly.
Some little notes around the league. Our good buddy there, Luke Richardson, unfortunately was let go by Chicago, basically saying they thought they'd be a little bit better in their rebuilding process. I think from what I gathered was thought they would have more points, wins in the win column with some guys they picked up. They picked up a few free agents there, and but God, I mean, you're really still in a rebuild there. I don't know, but it is what it is, man. The coaches.
That's how it goes. Right? That's how it goes. Yeah.
They got the winter.
Coach.
You got Christmas is coming up. Not that they ever look at that shit in Winter Classic. Kind of shitty timing. Yeah. But that's what they pulled the trigger.
Business of performance. Probably a couple others not too far behind.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. It's obviously firing the coach is the easiest thing to do. general managers and presidents aren't going to be, firing themselves that quickly. You could argue, we looked at, we thought we're going to be better during, this point of the season with the couple of signings that we had, but like, what does that say with the signings too? You know what I mean? If like, are they just underproducing, right? It's always a challenge. You always think you're adding pieces, but a lot of times these pieces are, I don't want to say past their prime pieces, but they come into teams and there's some veteran presence there, but maybe as far as like the performance level is not quite up to speed. So naturally the coach gets fired. Just another.
Yep. So it sucks for Luke. I mean,
he's a great coach, obviously a great guy.
Yeah, great guy.
Seems to connect with his players, but just the way it goes.
The way it goes.
Life goes on.
Business you're in, man.
He'll be fine. He'll find another job somewhere. He's obviously a great teacher and just a good team guy. So an organization will scoop him up in some capacity, I'm sure.
For sure. I'm sure they may keep him on doing something if he wants to. We don't know that. But speaking of another team, coach is hanging on here, and I can't see him getting rid of Pierre Laviolette in New York, but they are really struggling so much. They made a trade. They trade their captain, Jacob Trouba. He gets traded for, you ready?
I'm ready for it.
I'm going to throw it out there.
I want to hear you say
right. Seriously, he's traded to Anaheim for Urho Vaakanainen.
He said it so perfectly.
Vaakanainen. You know that thing? No, I'm traded. I hope I said that right. Vaakanainen. And
sounds
20,
accurate.
it's close as I'm gonna get. We need to call Chemo up and have him pronounce his name.
No kidding.
And also for a 2025 fourth round draft pick.
Shook the hockey world.
Shook the hockey world. I'll tell you what, you will have your head up when you're playing Anaheim with the Butcher, Radko Gudas, and Trouba. Holy shit, man.
That was a good scoop you had last week.
Well, about that, yeah. Actually, yeah. Riggs, give me some cred.
The word on the street was Trouba's getting moved.
Trouba and the other guy I heard was Kreider. Is like there's just
he got
things
one or
going
two.
on.
Who knows? Shuffling the deck now.
Hey, I got one of them right anyway. But that was straight up, and they keep that. Well, straight up 2 guys, but they taking on the whole salary, right, Baller? That's $8 million, man.
Yeah, there's some magic there, moving that salary.
I guess. They were like, "What? You keep it all? Yeah, done. Send the fax. $8 million. Okay,
couldn't come fast.
That cleaned up some area there for maybe picking up a player right now, like maybe from Nashville guys. Maybe need to get it going. They signed those guys, Marchessault and Stammer.
Yeah,
they look pretty. Like I'm not making fun of that, but they can't win a game.
Yeah, well, that's
they
a tough
literally
situation,
can't win a game, and the Rangers are in the same boat.
I know.
Maybe they need to mix something up there.
They locked up
Kreider,
Igor.
Kreider for they got room now. Yeah, they did lock up Igor. That was the other thing I was going to bring up. Igor bringing in a little bit of cake. 8 years, 11.5 smell.
Not bad. Kids will eat for a little bit.
And they'll be able to eat a couple dinners. Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
But what if he just never that good anymore? 8 years, bro, 11 and a half. That's a lot of cake.
That's a lot of cake and a lot of time.
I mean, he is let's not kid ourselves. He's
the real
probably
deal.
The best goalie in the league, or top 3, if not. But
just needs a little help there.
Lot of money. It's a lot of money. Yeah, on the back end.
Could have sprinkled that around and get some help.
He wasn't letting him. No. He wasn't letting him sprinkle. That money's right in his back pocket. But great deal. I mean, would you say no?
Hell of a job by his agent.
His agent. Yep.
Probably could have got a little more. Team was doing a little better.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a lot. That's a lot of cake.
What did you think about Juan Soto's cake?
Someone just sent me that. Yeah, was that you that sent me that?
I don't remember, but it was 15 years, $765 million with the Mets.
It's wild.
Boys and girls, I love hockey, but start trying to hit a baseball. Catch, throw, run, hit.
Let's do it all.
That is insane money.
Yeah. What would you do with that?
Oh, you don't want to know. I probably wouldn't make it past 2 weeks.
No.
I'd be doing bad things.
Yeah.
That much money.
Jeez.
I do bad things now. Would you
buy
put that in my pocket? What would I buy?
An island? Or would you stay local here and just splurge?
I would literally go around. I'm a basketball guy. I would go around, just go watch See, basketball's bad now, though. NBA. I don't want to
Yeah.
get into that right now.
Probably
I
scoop
can't
up
even
an
watch
NBA
it.
team or
Can't even
something,
watch
eh?
it. I don't know.
By the Sixers?
It's so bad now. All they do is shoot three. I was watching the game the other night for 3 minutes, and there were 9 3-pointers taken. Maybe 3 minutes of the game. I'm not kidding. It was awful. I can't even watch it
We
anymore.
can get in there and change the culture if you own the team.
Yeah, I guess.
Bring some real character guys.
I don't
maybe
know.
bring
They don't play basketball anymore. It's not like I just have to
bring
watch
AI
college.
back. Bring a couple of the old school guys. Shake it up a little.
Talking about practice, man.
Talking about, I'm going to cut you off, kind of off the rails right now, but talking about buying a team. Heard the Eagles this morning sold 8%. Jeffrey Lurie still got majority.
Yeah.
But there's a little rumbling going around. They want a new stadium.
Whoa.
They want a dome.
They want a
Really?
dome.
Wow.
That's the rumor going around.
Tell
Yes.
you what.
You want to invest in a dome?
Well, if they do anything like Calgary, that thing's going up in 2 months. According to
It's ready
Riggs.
for
This
next
thing's going to
season,
be
yeah.
downtown in fucking next season. No, that's crazy. No, I didn't know that at Baller. That's wow.
It's news to
are
me.
playing. Hey, I will say this on. I did make a play earlier in the football season that they would win the division.
Oh yeah.
What are they? 11-2. So I got 2 going today.
there you
I got
go.
Trouba and I got that.
Couple
no,
wins.
but that's crazy. Yeah, they're. It looks like they're going to win the division. They have to really. I think they have to lose their last.
How's
4.
that pay out?
I have to go back and check.
you gotta check the old
It's been so
ticky?
long. Yeah, I don't even know. Another trade. Sorry, we got off the rails there, everyone. Colorado. They acquired Mackenzie Blackwood, Giovanni Smith, and a 2027 fifth-round draft pick. Back to San Jose goes Alexandar Georgiev, however you want to say it, and Nikolai Kovalenko. Nikolai Habibulin. No, not Nikolai Habibulin. Nikolai Kovalenko, a 2026 second-round pick and a 2025 fifth-round pick. So just trying to get something going for Colorado because their goaltending, I think we talked about this last
Yep.
week. They've been struggling quite a bit. So they went and got Mackenzie. So
There
we'll
you
see
go.
what happens.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because Blackwood kind of fell off a couple years, but he's had a really nice bounce back this year with San Jose.
Which
Not-
is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. No kidding.
And not putting
often.
anyone down,
No,
but it's just
but
they're
obviously
rebuilding.
enough to be able to, to rise the stock enough to get shipped over to Colorado. I
Yeah.
mean,
We'll see. Maybe something happens in the hockey world.
Colorado's already, their 2 goalies on opening night are gone. You don't see that very often this
I
early
know.
in the year.
That's a
I
great
know.
point.
That's
You
a really
don't
good
you
point.
don't see that
do
at
you,
all.
Do you
That's-
think them guys stick around or add another goalie?
you never know if someone becomes available somehow? Crazier things have happened, right?
yeah, I mean, in the times like these, like you're kind of in like I don't want to say repair mode. You got to fix the problem quickly, and there's always risk involved, right? You're always trying to find the best available player that can do the job. And yeah, did he drop off for a couple of seasons? Yeah, you could argue so, but you're only you're kind of only as good as your last performance. And this year he's done a better job, so he was available and took a chance. Is it going to work out? Who knows?
Right.
If someone else pops up that's available, that's better, and they have some space. I don't know. This is the GMs getting creative with the situations that they're in. So
Well, it's like you said, times like these, you learn to live again.
yeah, that's a food.
It's
Times
living live
like
again,
these. Yeah, right. That's the way it goes.
Last night also, Tuesday night, our boy Stolarz
Oh,
goes
man.
back home into Jersey because he didn't play that first game.
right.
He didn't play the first time they played in Jersey because he had played the night before at home. He opened the season up. But 38 saves. And Big Poppy with the OT
what a
goal, man.
goal,
What
too.
a goal, too. Guy on him. Just, I don't know if Ballard thought it up, but there he's like, gets in tight. Last second, he gets it up top Chads or his Middleton, as Menzie would say, top titty 2x4, baby.
What a character he is.
Yeah, but it was just cool to see Stolarz happy for him. Like he's having a great
What a
year.
win, though.
What a great win. 12 shots. What did Coach Chippy say?
Chippies just wasn't enough. They weren't efficient enough.
No, he said it was. Well, the player said it was
Players,
efficient.
yeah. The players,
That's
Coach Chippy said, "Nah."
Coach Chippy didn't like it.
He didn't like it.
12
12
and he's got to get
shots.
a better chief. He's got to learn how to talk like
he's
chief.
gotta-
If he would have done that, which he doesn't probably know chief. So, but that
Maybe we
was
got to
pretty
hit
funny.
him up and coach him on.
I think
we're
we're gonna have to. We got to
mannerisms.
fly.
Right on the forehead.
Right on the forehead. That would be
Right on the
that flies right on the
his third
forehead,
eye.
man.
Land
How are there
right-
flies out in December? Like, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, also, I wanted to bring up that loss the Flyers had to Utah. Baller got a great video and posted it of Matvei signing signing as he's walking off. What a nice guy, though, to do that. That was great. But I thought that was really funny when I saw that. I was like, Jesus, that's great.
I know. To have the mental fortitude, like your emotions are high, the
Yeah.
crowd's going crazy, you're getting tossed out of a game, stop and sign.
Signed a water
I gotta
bottle.
give him props for that.
Yeah, give him props for it for sure, man.
Nice to see a little young buck like
Yep,
that.
yep. Nice
Give
to see
him back
sign
to
it.
the fans.
Just had a birthday. Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Matvei.
no
Came
longer-
over, had another Wawa.
Yeah, I saw that. He loves his Wawa.
He loves the Wawa coffee. Why do
Standing
you wear
top.
the same thing
Same
again?
jacket.
Hey, same thing.
His go-to jacket.
It's his go-to. He thought it was going to be cold. It's been warm the last few days, but I think it's getting ready to get cold again.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I think that's about it, man. We're about ready.
We're ready. 183.
Baller. It's 183. That's what I said.
183 Nast.
Yeah.
Behn Wilson.
Big bad Ben
Let's
Wilson.
go.
Let's go.
Welcome back. I'm Riley Cote.
And I'm Derek Settlemeyer. And this week, Riles, we got one of the, from what people said, one of the most scariest humans to play in NHL, but also, not only with that, could play the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Former first-round pick, 6th overall by the Flyers in the 1978 NHL Amateur Draft. Played 601 NHL games, 98 goals, 261 apples for 359 points. Also, amassed 1,480 PEMs,
Yeah.
1,480 penalty minutes. And recently had a book written by Mark Scoop Melanowski called Facing Behn Wilson, which I don't think a lot of people really look forward to doing. But I was able to meet him when I was a younger kid. My dad, obviously was his trainer. But let's welcome to the show, Mr. Behn Wilson. What's up, Ben?
Hey guys, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure, man. I tell you what, I was a little guy when growing up when you were playing here in Philadelphia, and I was just in and out of town visiting my dad most of the time because I grew up in North Carolina. But you are always a nice gentleman and nice to me as a kid. I remember a lot of stories my dad would say just about how good of a player you are, for one, but also how scary tough you were. And obviously, if you go on YouTube, you can see that. But what's going on these days, man?
Well, I live down in Florida, and I have 3 girls. They're all raised. They're out of the house, and they're paying their own bills. So
Finally, right?
yeah. No,
My 2 aren't yet, and they're grown and out of the house.
So that's a huge win. And what prompted me with this, and you've talked about it, is I didn't think Scoop had another first name, but Mark Scoop.
Yeah.
He tracked me down through my daughter, and my daughter asked me for a year to do an interview, and I didn't. And then finally I spoke to Scoop, and it was 5 questions. It was over in 5 minutes, and then we started talking, and he's filling in what's going on in the world of hockey and what all the old guys are doing, and it brought back some great memories. And then out of nowhere, he sent me a text and a picture of the book. It says it's released today, and I had no idea he's even writing a book. And and I had 5 minutes of interview with him. And what was great about the book, which it really intrigued me, is instead of he started off as a young child, and boy, my mother thought I was smart and all that stuff. He interviews other contemporaries, and he gets their thoughts and their remembrances, and I know all these guys vividly, and at the time you're in the moment, you're doing things, and you don't get to hear guys thoughts or perspectives. And when I first opened up the book to read it, I said, "Holy shit! I wonder what everyone's going to write about me, right?"
Yeah.
I wish my mom was alive and she could edit the book for me, right? And of course, we might be down to like a quarter of a page by the time she was done.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to see, and guys remember different things. With the interviewing Gretzky, he's this is my 18 millionth and first goal, and then my 18 millionth, and I don't know. So, but for me, they were just talking about different experiences, and it really touched me, and I thought it was really, really cool that Scoop would basically interview guys, memorialize their thoughts and their memories, and because if not, it's it's lost into the ether of time type of thing. So it was really great. It was exciting for me to read it, and and it's not just on ice stuff, and there was a touching story about Kenny Yaremchuk, who he roomed with me his first year, and it was near my last year, and he says in the write up, he says, I think Ben liked me, and then he sits there and say, wow, I love Kenny, but then again, I'm thinking, but geez, I wonder if anyone liked me. So it was just interesting, and he told a silly story at practice, and it just brings back a flash of memories, and like it happened yesterday. I don't know what happened to the last 30 years. I don't know if I remember much of that, but I certainly remember the hockey times and the moments. And, it's an honor to be able to play in the NHL, and the experiences, and just to memorialize them, I think is really cool.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
What, are you happy with the book? Good feedback? How's that been rolling along the last 30 days or so?
Well, I think, I could have edited stuff and said more good things about how smart and good looking I am, but um, overall, I thought it was a really good book. No one likes to hear anything not nice about themselves, and you probably I have my perspectives too, but I think the beauty of the book is that it was just people's honest thoughts and opinions, and and when you look back at some of the things you think you remember distinctly, and then you hear everyone else's opinion, and completely different story, completely different experience, and after a while, who knows the hell what was right. But it was great, and it's memorialized, and Scoop did it, and because he did, he wrote the book. I told him I've now. I did in 35 years. I did a 5-minute interview with him, and this is my second or third interview I've done, just for Scoop in his book. I'm not involved in it in any way, but I do think people will get a kick out of some of the stories and thoughts and perspectives, and I just want to have my thoughts and perspectives and go last and rewrite all of history my way. But it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Should maybe think about writing a follow-up book.
Yeah, right.
And go on tour. Hopefully he's throwing you some royalties on the book there too. You're not doing these interviews for free.
No, you know what? It was when I left hockey. I left hockey. I had 3 girls, and I'm watching Rainbow Bright on TV, and and living the world of a dad that has 3 girls. So, and I got my children this horrible habit of they wanted to eat every day, and it got to the point where they want to eat 3 times a day, and you got to go out and you got to go out and find some money for them to do that. So between the making a living, we're trying, and being with my kids, that was my world. And when the kids are younger, you try to put hockey on TV, and they go in the other room. So
Yeah.
so I didn't do it, and just bumping into. I always had a couple of good friends like Kenny Linseman and Timmy Kerr and that, and but outside of that, Scoop brought me into reintroduced me to the world of hockey, and it's a trip through memory lane, and they were crazy times back then. They were just crazy. So
yeah.
It's different game,
different era for sure. Yeah, I can't wait to dig into the book and learn more about some of these stories, because from some of the people we've talked to, we'll get into a little bit. It sounds like you lived a pretty interesting life, and obviously played a bigger than life role with the Flyers and Chicago Blackhawks. And, just from talking to a few people about your career and, learning about you, and it sounds like you were, a kind, gentle person with, the ability to turn it on the ice. And, I'm learning more about you as I kind of dug in on your background. It didn't sound like you were necessarily known as a fighter in juniors. So you definitely fought, and you probably had some street credit. You didn't need to because you're putting up over a point a game in juniors. But maybe digging in, you were drafted in the first round, 6th overall by the Flyers, and you jumped right in. And it sounded like, from talking to Sudsy and a couple others, like you were hungry. You were going after the biggest, toughest dudes in the league. So maybe run us through the evolution of junior hockey, being maybe known more as a productive, say offensive defenseman, could still throw them, but you still put up really, really good numbers in the NHL as well. But just the evolution into that role of being, pretty feared hockey player in the NHL.
Yeah. I guess I was drafted into junior in the second round, and trying to make the team, I was going to do anything. And minor league hockey, you can't fight. And I get into junior, and I was going to do anything to get on the team. And my first year at training camp in junior, if there were 50 fights, I was in 45 of them. And it's sort of like on the job training. And the first fight I got in, and it felt like there's like a million fists flying around, and some of them might be mine, and some of them might not. But I couldn't tell. And you get to the penalty box, and you wonder what happened. And as you're getting more and more fights, you get better, and the fights slow down, type of thing. And but my first year junior, I sat the bench, and I got to go out for one shift a game and get in a fight. And tough way to go. And I was 16, and some guys are 19 and 20. And then I realized if I didn't get in a fight the first shift, I got out for my second shift to get in a fight. And and the whole time, I just drilled and worked on my skills, and got to be a better player. But I fought a lot in junior. And the funny part was, come to the Flyers, I was going to do anything to get on the team. And if I had to have the 45 out of 50 flights, I was going to do whatever it could be. And training camp went well for me. And I don't think I was in a fight in training camp. And we start the season, and things are going well. And I thought, well, maybe I just don't fight. I don't know. And I had no belief. I had no belief in the pros I could win a fight. I knew I would. I knew I wouldn't back down. And my thought always is, anyone who drops their gloves, you win. Both sides, because you actually did it. It's a scary thing out there, and as long as you try, you're the winner. And that's my book. So Paul Holmgren came to me, and I remember I don't know if I have this right, but in Boston, and said we had a tough time with them last year, and we're not going to get pushed around this year. And he said to me, I don't know if you fight, but you got to at least hold on to someone if there's a fight. And, don't let two guys jump on our guys. And I said, Paul, listen, I'll fight. I don't know if I can win, but I'll fight. And, we all got kicked out of the game within not that long. And,
sounds about right.
But
great talk, Homer. Good talk, Homer.
Yeah, no, look what I blame it all on Paul. So, but
yeah.
No, but in junior, I kind of developed a semi-pathological sense of I didn't want my team pushed around, and for whatever reason, looking back, it was outsized. In my mind, I saw a lot of guys, they take shots that are smaller players because they can, and I really wanted to know that you can, but there's going to be a problem afterwards. And one thing led to another, and the game was very violent back then. They didn't call penalties, and part of my big strategy was, if I could intimidate a player so that he's staying 20 feet too far away from the net for the rebound, and
Yeah.
he doesn't get the rebound because he's too far away. I don't look really good because he didn't score the goal, but the goal didn't happen, and I
Yeah.
knew that. And there's some guys that you could, back them up, 10 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet, 1 foot, anything. And so I gave up my fair shit, and I defended a lot of guys, and including myself. And the game was violent. They didn't call many penalties, that's for damn sure. And it was a crazy game back then.
Yeah, no doubt. It's quite remarkable. You talk about, and I played the role a little bit too for a few years, and the psychology involved in what you're talking about, just that space that you create by your presence, like you said, like you're backing a guy off 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 feet, depending on the player itself. But I don't think the average fan understands the power of what you're describing, that level of accountability and ownership. And you said like the game was different back then; it was extremely violent. So like, like it was no joke, So guys knew that you meant business, but just the power of that presence that you brought, and the level that you brought it forth too, because it sounds like you were known as one of the toughest and the scariest, unpredictable almost, right? And guys
Yeah.
knew that. So
Well, yeah, it was intimidation. There's
right.
fighting, and there's the intimidation, and I had a year in the Flyers. I played with Terry Murray, who was a great player, and he was a great player to play with, and wasn't necessarily that tough of a guy, and you see guys trying to pick on him, trying to ruin his game. And it was extremely important to me for everyone to know, you don't mess with my partner. And there's going to be big problems. And I needed and wanted Terry to play um, uh, his best. And we had a great year together. And not solely because of that, but I don't think it hurt Terry knowing that and people weren't going to hit him senselessly from behind and all that stuff.
I was fortunate enough to work for the Flyers for 25 years as well, and I had this guy on a team for a few years, and it does go a long way, like you're saying. And a lot of people don't understand. Even in today's game, it's a lot different, as you know. But more teams are carrying a guy that can take care of business and really to give guys more room on the ice, like you were just saying with Terry Murray when he was your partner there. But it's to me, it's still so important, and a lot of teams would agree. I would say the Flyers have a pretty tough guy now, is Nick Delorier, but he's on the IR. But you notice a difference when he's in the game. To me, and players feel a little bit more comfortable. They have another guy too. They have a couple guys that'll chuck them, but a lot of fans understand how important that role is. Like even if you don't have to fight, but you're feared, coming into the game, they're like, yeah, I may not want to mess with this guy, and they don't go to the net for a rebound because they don't want to wear the lumber or have to end up dealing with you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's what about the play that never happened, and for example, they're coming in and they pretend they slip, and cross check your goaltender in the head, and or it didn't happen. Do you get credit when it didn't happen? And the answer is some people must know it and some people don't. But it didn't happen. And there's intimidation, and there's various forms, and then there's the other thing is there's some guys that play a lot of ice time, and they're tough. Back in the day, Terry O'Reilly, he was tough, and you couldn't intimidate him, but he was on the ice a lot. So it's not like a guy that's 1 or 2 shifts a game. He's on the ice a lot, and you got Beck and Clarke, Gillies, and stuff like that. And whether they get in a fight that day or whatever, guys mind their P's and Q's a little different when they're out there, and I don't know how you measure it. I don't think you can, but I certainly know that everyone damn well knows the difference.
That's the truth. Yeah. I agree. You can't quantify it. It's an energy that you really can't put into a number, right? I mean, it's still it's not one of the numbers, the analytics that we break down, but it's a presence that exists that everyone's very aware of. And we talk about your toughness and how feared you were and all this other stuff. But you were a great player. You were a first round pick, 6 overall. You had obviously over a point a game as a defenseman in junior, but then you're able to convert in the NHL. You had some really good years. All-Star game in 1981. I mean, talk about that part of the game and maybe how the physical, I mean, it probably sounds like it's redundant, but the physical part, how you were able to maybe carry the puck longer and stick, make better plays because that space you're able to create based on your street cred.
Yeah, again, I don't know how to quantify that or whatever. I know I was blessed that when I first broke in the league at 19, the penalties, there were 2 penalties. You didn't cancel out. You actually played 4-on-4. And it just seemed that there's a lot of 4-on-4 opportunities, that there were therefore 4-on-3 opportunities. And the most fun I ever had playing hockey was playing 4-on-3. And I went out with Clarke, Barber, and Leach.
Oh, nice.
And
not bad.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I don't know if I deserve to be on the ice with those guys, but I'll tell you what. It was so how it worked is Clarke or I carried the puck most, and it's not because Billy Barber and Reggie Leach couldn't. They're great players. They could carry the puck. They could pass. They could do it all. But they also knew why they had the puck. They couldn't get open to score, and so. If I passed them the puck and they couldn't get a shot away, they passed it right back or passed it to Clarke right away, and they didn't hold on to it and burn up time and because nothing's going to happen. They got rid of it right away, and in a regular 5-on-5, they carried the puck and were great. But on 4-on-4, 4-on-3, they got rid of the puck, and the whole idea was to get them where one of them could unload. And I think our 4-on-3 power plays usually lasted about 20 seconds. And it's just getting one of their players to move his stick the wrong way so I could get the puck to Barber or Leach, and they just blast their cannons like nobody's business. And sometimes it went hit the corner, and sometimes it went through the goaltender. And the odd time there's a rebound for Clarke to tap it in. But I think of those times, and they just had that. All of them. They had that sense. They knew what to do. They didn't have to verbalize it, and they knew how to get open. They knew not to hold on to the puck. It's not like you're telling them, "What are you doing?" or anything like that. And Clarke, was absolutely fabulous. One thing you had to watch out for Clarke is, if there was a play that was about to develop and you should have been breaking to get to the open, the puck ended up there. And you felt colossally horrible that you didn't anticipate it like he did in break. And I remember one time he's coming over the blue line and there's 3 guys at him, and I didn't break because I thought there's no way he can get me the puck. There's zero way. He's getting hit. There's guys grabbing, holding, and this and that. And the next thing is the puck just slides right through for me to have a breakaway, except I didn't break. And now I'm chasing the puck in the corner, and I felt humiliated. I felt humiliated because the thing about Clarke is he was magic with the puck, and if he always got the puck to you, and he laid the puck flat, he got it in the right position at the right time. It wasn't early, it wasn't late, it wasn't in your feet, it wasn't bouncing, and I always remember that time like it was yesterday, and I was humiliated. And did anyone else really know about it? Well, certainly Clarke did, and it killed me to this day.
Really, wow. Can you expand on just like Clarkie's leadership skills? We always, talk to guests about, obviously Bobby Clarke is one of the most well-known Flyers, but just like kind of what you're talking about here, it sounds like he's always talking to his teammates. Obviously always vocal about scenarios and all this other stuff, but just speak to that because I think eventually he became your assistant coach,
Yeah.
if I'm correct.
I think the thing that struck me most about Clark, and I love telling this story, and that if you were a fly on the wall in our dressing room, and your job was to figure out who the superstar on the team was, that's your sole job, just in the dressing room by the way the guys talked and acted. We had Clark, Bernie, Billy Barber, Leach, and Jimmy Watson. Um, you'd never pick any of those guys. I don't know who you would pick. As a great leader, Clark never, ever, ever, ever bragged about himself. And I think mostly he led by example. And he took practices seriously. And he worked hard. And then you see, for me, you see the skill of him handling the puck and when to dish it off and the things that he would go through to make sure that you got open and you got the puck at the right time. And he kept setting that bar. And all of a sudden, good enough isn't good enough anymore. It's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be crisper. It's supposed to be better. And he did it all the time. And so that was the big thing to me. And then you say, that pretty good pass. Now it's got to be better. It's got to be at the right time. And it's not like you say, there's 10 times he made one good pass and he got lucky. It was every time, and it just raises the bar. And when you're passing the puck on a power play to Billy or Reggie, you made sure you put it where they're just lighting it up. They don't have to cradle the puck. They don't have to wait. They're blasting. And it's hard to do, but it's a difference between a goal and a nice try. And,
Right.
And that's where Clark was a huge influence to me. He did it in practice. And I think he would lay the puck out and that you're supposed to go get in practice, and then you realize he sees everything. I think he had eyes in the back of his head. And I played with Clark for 5 years, and he made one bad pass in 5 years, and he made it felt like a gazillion brilliant passes. He was and the other thing which was great by Clark is this. You're fighting for the puck in the corner of your own end. You're trying to get the puck, and you finally get it, and the guy's going to grab your arm. He's going to hit you, and you have about a half a second to maybe move the puck up the ice. Clark would be in a position that you could see him easily in your best field of vision right in front of you with a stick down in a position you could pass him the puck.
Wow.
I play with other guys at the same time. They might be going for you're hoping you can pass the puck in 15 feet and in half a second, and guys are going for a breakaway on the other end of the ice, and you sit there. There's no way to get the puck that far. You wouldn't see him. There's nothing, but not Clark. And Clark was the easy pass. And when I first broke in the league on the power play, guys said, "Well, you got to start carrying the puck up the ice." Clark doesn't have to do it every time. And so I'm in the league, and goddamn, the guy and carrying the puck up, you get angled off. You have to pass the puck. And who's open? Clark. Why? He's in the obvious position, the stick down, the right position. And then you pass it to Clark. He carries it up the ice. And guys said, "Ben, you got to start carrying the puck up the ice." And next time you get angled off, you got half a second, and now there's Clark in the perfect position to get the puck, and I kept passing it to him. The guy said, "Ben, why aren't you carrying the puck up the ice?" And it was frustrating that I couldn't do better. You get better at it, but also it always showed me Clark, at the level I was playing with, or whatever, he could see what was happening, and he'd get his ass in position and give me an easy out. I felt like every time. So that to me, that's magical stuff.
Yeah, that's little things like that. Some people don't understand, even though they watch hockey, like things like that, where a player of his magnitude We see it with Crosby and
Yeah.
Gretzky, like guys like that.
Yeah, exactly. Just getting open, being available.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad guy to get the puck to.
Yeah,
It's
not
being
a
critical
bad
about moving
option.
the puck to Bobby Clarke.
I was gonna, I was gonna ask you there. Speaking of those guys, you end up you're on a 4-on-3 power play with them. Coming into the league as a young kid, was that like? Were you like in amazement of being around these guys, or were they just so down to earth and they made you feel, like it wasn't a big deal?
It was like an out of body experience that you say, the idea of every boy growing up around me wanting to play in the NHL, and just to think that, you're in the dressing room and you're going to put the skates on, and all that's overwhelming. And then, it's hard not to know who these guys are. You come in the league, these are the guys you watched on TV, and they're Hall of Famers, are incredible. Only the Lord saves more than Bernie Perron.
That's right.
And you're in the dressing room and they're joking and laughing like just, just like everybody else. And then you pinch yourself and say, well, they're not like everybody else. These guys are superstars. But it took a while to reconcile the perspective about how great they are with how normal. I'll tell you, I don't know why I thought of this. I broke in the league, and Mel Bridgman is a good friend of mine. He's at my wedding party, and so I see Mel in the dressing room, and the guy looks like he's flexing his muscles at all times, and he's just ripped. He's just ripped, and he's flexing his muscles. He's talking to people. I'm sitting there. What's he doing? That's got to get old. You're standing there, you're flexing your muscles and pretending you're casual. And so every day in the dressing room, I look over, he's doing it again. And this is every day. It's there. God, and finally I realized, he's just built like that. He's just ripped, and he can't, it was, so there I'm dying and laughing at myself. So they were great, magical years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, even your first season there, you played all 80 games, 13 goals, 36 assists, for 49 points and almost 200 penalty minutes, man. That's really
rock
impressive.
solid first year.
That's a rock solid first year, man. Really.
Yeah. It was great, and it was exciting, and the game was very violent. It's like I was playing two games at all times, and it can wear you out. And you're one time, just a little thing. Willie Platt, I guess he caught me with the head down and flattened me, and Jimmy Watson jumped in to protect me, defend my honor, and Jimmy wasn't the fighter, Willie, and Willie beat the hell out of him, and you sit there and say, holy shit, and that's my defense partner, and he jumped into a fight to protect me, which he had no chance of winning, but what a great guy and honorable guy, and he's in there, and Jimmy's big joke afterwards was, I had Platt worried there. He thought he'd killed me. And,
my God, what a line!
Yeah, no, but that's Jimmy. Jimmy wasn't Jimmy. Jimmy came, and then you sit there and say, "Holy shit!" And Jimmy grew, with a lot of things like that. What a great partner, and but to do that for me, I was always appreciative, and it got me in more fights with Willie, but. But that was certainly great. That was certainly great that Jimmy stepped in for me like that.
I was going to say, you mentioned earlier Kenny Linseman. You're good buddies with him. How many Tillies did he get you in? He had to stir the pot quite a few times for you. He was always mixing it up.
So the story of Kenny is I played against him in junior, and he played a year underage junior, and so I'm 16 and he's 16, and he's a superstar in junior, and there's no question in my mind he's playing pro, and I'm sitting on the bench, And and so I knew Kenny a long time, and he's out there causing so much shit. I'm playing against him. He's causing so much shit. He's got everyone worried about him. And the big joke is, I guess I whacked him, or he dropped his gloves, and we came after me to fight, and he fell down before I pummeled the shit out of him. And,
Conveniently.
and we always laugh at it. Kenny always tells me, he says, "Yeah, you're lucky I stepped on a stick, or I could have
slipped on a banana peel."
But Kenny, to that extent, remind me of Bobby Clarke, and that is, they weren't dying for everyone to jump in and protect them. They were giving out shit, and they were playing it tough, and they were giving out as much shit as they possibly could, and they took their lumps too. And like I said, there's some guys that can go for a rebound, but they're 20 feet back. And with Clarke or Kenny, that rebound's there, and they're not 20 feet back. They're playing. And
Right.
So when you think of the shit that people cause, the intimidation, the question is what's the benefit? And there's guys, they played all the time. They were very disruptive on the ice, and I don't know how many slashing penalties Clarke got. And Kenny just caused shit, and the next thing is, he caused too much, and now there's a fight. And I don't know why I just thought of this, but we're playing Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, and Kenny's causing some shit, and this whistle goes. So I'm standing there, I'm holding on to someone, just watching Kenny do his shit, and I'm dying in laughter because he was great at it. And next thing you know, Paul Baxter sucker punched me in the face.
Oh, we watched that.
And I'm
I
on the
did see
ground.
that.
I'm on the ground, so that was if I wasn't having as much fun watching Kenny work his shit and his magic shit, and then I might not have got sucker punched like that. And but that
You got up and beat the pants off him.
Yeah, then you beat him up.
Yeah, and then he covered up. So that's
Right.
that's a different story. But Kenny was great. And the other thing is, when the game gets tougher, get closer in playoffs when things are tough, and sort of like it, every yard you take it gets meaner and tougher. Kenny was there. Clarke was there. I mean, these are, and it's one thing if you're scoring in preseason, but when things were tough, you could count on Kenny. He just kept giving him more and more shit, and it was great for him. It was great because people were more worried about Kenny giving out shit than they were about beating him up. Right. And as a small fast guy, what are you going to do? Outskate him? That's crazy. You may as well. And back then, the way I understood the how penalties were called is when if the guy's in front of the net and the whistle goes, you had 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, cross-check him in the back of the neck, or knock him flying, and there's no penalty. So you have the 3, and my joke in the dressing room was, I don't know why guys slow down, when the whistle's blown.
Right.
Because they got to catch on that I'm not, and you don't get a penalty. You never got it. 3 seconds late, you can cross-check someone like crazy and knock them flying, and there's no penalty. And it was crazy back then.
Yeah, you can't even put your stick up anymore.
You can't touch a guy. It sounds like Kenny, he kind of brings his on ice, antics off the ice sometimes. A little bit of a character. Any bad Christmas presents that Kenny's given over the years?
Sunsy may have told us that one. He thought you were going to kill him.
Oh no, he's not going to bring that up. I would say this about Kenny. He's been Kenny was smart as shit, and he's been extremely successful in real estate development, and he's done really well for himself. And when I knew him at 16 and 17, I knew that, and we stayed close friends. And he's just been a successful guy at whatever he does.
Yeah, we've seen him in playing these alumni games for a bunch of different teams actually, because he played in a few places. But I the first time, I think it was way back in 2012. He came, we had the outdoor game. The alumni played the day before we played the Winter Classic with the Rangers, and he had his specs on, and I said to my dad, I'm like, "Who is that?" And he goes, "You know him?" He goes, "That's Kenny Linseman," but I didn't recognize, his head shaved. But he's wearing the glasses when he's playing.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god!" But I got to talk to him.
Yeah.
I've seen him a few times since.
We played against them this past year.
Yeah, Boston,
Mark Recchi's his Hall of Fame induction there. The Boston Bruins came to Philly, and Kenny was playing. Joey Mullen, a couple of the old school guys.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to ask you too. You played when they had the Cooperalls, the pants. What did you think of that? Or did you wear those in junior? Because I did see a couple junior teams had those at one time. But when you played for the Flyers, I remember the pants were kind of a big deal.
They brought in the pants for 1 year. And my thought is, this is what you have to wear. You go wear them, and you move on. I never really developed opinion, good or bad or whatever. And it really wasn't part of the game. It looked a little goofy, but I thought maybe people got used to it. I don't know. And then 1 year and they're done.
The experiment was over.
Yeah, it was over.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's always, we always kind of curious on like what guys thought about that, because it was Hartford Whalers. Maybe been one other.
Yeah, Whalers did it 1 year. Yeah.
They did
as well. Yeah, they did it 1 year. Yeah.
It's a little bit of an experiment. Didn't last very long.
Didn't last long, did it? You see roller hockey wearing those.
Yeah, exactly.
Now.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, it was just we're kind of talking still about the fighting. I know it's not a easy question because you've ran into so many tough dudes, but. Toughest dude, if it's maybe fighting Probert, talk about arguably one of the toughest guys to play the game. Just kind of get your inside scoop on him and some of the other tough guys you faced.
Sure. I said earlier that if you drop the gloves, I think you win the fight. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot. And people sometimes, and it's just a tough thing to say. People say, "Oh, I wasn't scared. I'm afraid of everyone that can put their fist through my face." And a lot of those guys can and would. So yeah, and I don't think you can come up with the energy, the violence, the rage if you don't feel like you're fighting for your life. So I'd start with that. There were a hell of a lot of tough guys back then, and there were a lot of guys, good fighters. Like I don't think Paul Holmgren was necessarily a great fighter, but he was tough as shit. Mm-hmm. Kenny Linseman was a pain in the ass, and Clarke was and didn't fight. And then you get to the fighters. I kind of felt sorry for the guys that were in the last year of pro when I was 19, and they made a living being tough guys, and they're trying to get through one more year. And at 19, every night was the last night of my life. We were playing to the death, and I felt bad for them. And it's hard not to realize that one day it's you. And at 19 and 20, and that coming up with that rage for that extra strength. And most fighters, in my opinion, they're really tough for a couple of years, and they can't summon that rage that they need. It's not like I'm kind of raged. You got to go over the top to have that strength and to win a fight. And so 2 years is beyond that is 2. And I figured, well, 1 year is coming. And then I saw Rob Probert, and I saw some of his fights, and I said, well, he fights a lot like me. And this is the guy that's going to, never, just the way I held people's grips, they might have hit me, but not with any force, which is the 99% of my fighting is don't get hit. And I thought he's the guy that's going to wipe me out. And I did get in a fight with him, and I fought, and he just held on. And I in terms of honor and fighting, I thought, well, I'm not going to avoid him because when I was younger, I wanted to get in the fights with the tough guys and prove myself, and I didn't want to deny that to him. And he'd been pounding guys, and it was a long fight, and he just held on. And then the concern was I saw him fight the year earlier against Gary Nyland, who was big and strong, and there was a brawl going on in Chicago, and Gary got in a fight, and Probert just held on, and no one broke up the fight. And a few minutes later, Gary ran out of gas, and Probert beat him up. So they're not breaking up my fight. I'm fighting. It's going on a long time, and I'm running out of gas, and he's not fighting. And I said, well, I guess this is how it ends for me, because he's got to be fresh, and you got to sum it up. If I can sum up the energy, just throw one more punch. And he's got a good grip on me. I got a good grip on him. I'm not really through, let's say 20, 30 punches. I don't know how many, but they're not, he's got too good of a grip. They're not landing and hurting him at all. And then you try to sum up one more energy for one more punch, and surely the refs come in, and and now he got the energy for one more punch, and he never fought me. So I don't know why. I don't know why. I think it's not because he was. I don't think it's because he was afraid to fight me. I don't know what it was. But in terms of tough guys, certainly one I had most trouble with, hands down, Willie Platt. I think I fought him 8 times, and it was dealing with him was all that tough as hell. He was a great fighter. He was tough as shit. He was mean, and if I can digress to how it all started was, and this is I think I'm 19 in Philadelphia, and looking at the stat page from the other team, I see this guy Willie Platt, and I think he scored like 40 goals plus the year before, and maybe rookie of the year or something. And I'm looking at this, and I say, oh, okay, he's a goal scorer. And I see him in warm up, and he's got his blonde hair, short, good looking guy. And I said, he's a Swede.
That's sweet.
So I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna discourage him from getting near the net. That 20-foot roll, he's not scoring it on me. And so I don't know what part of the game. He comes around our net. He's coming in front of the net. So I just speared him hard. And I figured, well, that's the end of that Swede. He won't. He can score. He can score. He can score 80 goals a year, but it won't be when I'm on the ice. So I solved that problem. And in about 3 seconds, I realized I'm fighting for my life.
Wow.
I'm fighting for my life. Now, he was strong, a good fighter, experienced. He had the rage. He had everything, you asked me. And then I realized the reason he scored 40 goals, no one wants to get near him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the reverse 20-foot rule that the defensemen don't want to get within 20 feet with him. He was brutal. And so the next time I fought him, I don't know all the order and all the things, but he thought it'd be, since I speared him one, he cross-checked me in the back of the neck, knocked me senseless, and then we had a fair fight, and it just went on, and my whole career. And you can, if you're measuring who won the fights by points, that's one thing, but he didn't back down 1 inch. I didn't, and he was as tough as can be, and a good player too. And this is where I know the guy's good. That I think we were playing in Calgary in playoffs one year, and my job was he go on the ice. I go on the ice, and because he just ran over guys and cross-checked them in the head, and he was, and so I go on the ice, and I don't think we really got any penalties against each other in the playoffs because we were playing the game and trying to win.
Right.
I used to say you can, in practice and scrimmage and training camp, I mean, they can give me 1,000,000 minutes and penalties. I couldn't care. In training camp, I didn't really care. And season, I kind of cared, but playoffs, you got to win. And but there's again, he played tough, he played hard. It's a tough guy to play against, and but no penalties. And and I don't even know if I ever got in a fight in playoffs. Um, um, that was the time to win games, and you're not setting up and setting a precedent for the next game or the next year. You're trying to win that game because that's the way playoffs are set up. It's important. So, but other guys that were tough, and I said Terry O'Reilly, tough and relentless, and played a lot of ice time. So you always had to be careful about him. And he ran me over a few times, and we got in fights. And Clark Gillies, big, strong on his skates, tough guy. And there's a guy that whether whether he got in a fight or not, everyone mind their P's and Q's, and he was a great fighter. Of course, Beck. Nick Fatiu was big and strong, good fighter. This is a stupid story, but Kurt Fraser. Kurt Fraser. I'm getting in fights. I think it's my first year, and finally, guy says, "Oh, don't worry about him, Ben. You can beat him. Oh, don't worry about him." I said, "You know what? I'm going to do my own worrying. I'm going to do worrying. I want to know who he is. I'm going to do a lot of. I want to know how he fights. I want to know this. Is he righty? Lefty? I want to know all this." And don't worry, Ben. And I'm getting mad. I said, "Guys, I'm going to do my worrying." And then we're going to go into Vancouver, and Mel Bridgman said to me, "You better watch Kurt Fraser." And all of a sudden I'm, holy shit, what happened? Don't worry about him, Ben. Don't worry about him. I want to don't worry about him. Right?
Yeah.
And he said, oh shit. Anyway, Kurt and I got in this fight, and Kurt was extremely strong, a great fighter, and it was just a tough fight. He had a good grip on me. I had a good grip on him, and I did everything I could. But he said one slip up, and he's the guy that put his fist right through your skull. He was, and then we played in Chicago. He's a great friend of mine. He was the greatest guy, and he's at my house one time, and my wife thought it'd be a good idea to put the video on of us fighting.
PTSD.
And if this is 6-7 years later, you say, oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty funny. So we'll put it on, and by the time we finish the fight, both of us are sick and regretted looking at that stuff and saying, holy shit. Yeah, so he didn't fight a lot, but I'll tell you what, he's as scary a fighter that there is. And there's a lot of other guys I probably just didn't mention, but and then the other, and like I said, there's different types of toughness. There's the guys like Mike Bossy and Trottier didn't give it out, but you couldn't back them away from the net, so they were tough their way. Paul Holmgren was a scary machine. His favorite play was pretending he got tripped breaking for the net and running over Billy Smith and
I saw a little bit of that in basketball.
And accidentally cross-checking Smith in the head over and over again. And Paul was so tough. He before one season he hurt his rotator cuff and needed surgery, and he decided not to have surgery. And Paul's there getting in fights with one arm, and he says, "There, Paul, come on." And that's actually how I got in a fight with Beck. Paul's going to go fight with Beck with one arm, and you say, "Paul, come on," and give me a notice. And nope, Paul didn't care. He didn't care if I jumped in or not. I just felt obligated to. But that's a tough guy when you're going into a fight with one arm.
Yeah, no doubt.
But he wasn't backing down. He ran over more guys. He was what a great guy to have on your team. So he was loved Paul to death, and between he and Kenny on the ice together, that was crazy shit. But it was they were fabulous.
Yeah. You brought up two things that really stuck out to me. One is that Willie Platt, what a tough Swede, toughest Swede ever.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm the smartest guy in the universe for figuring that out.
Yeah, right. But the second thing you were talking about a little bit, we've talked about this before. Obviously, not me personally, but the rage you have to have, and Riley used to say it's almost like he'd get himself into character for what he knew he had to do. And was that something that, I don't know if you thought of it that way, but like you said, you got to have that rage, and it's hard to have it for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a healthy personality trait, but it's if you're going to get in a fight, it's good to have, and it's not like boxing, where you go 15 rounds, 3-minute rounds. You assume the refs are coming in 30 seconds or a minute, and you're in 30 seconds to a minute, you're using all the gas that you have in your tank, right? And you see guys that if you're sprinting versus running a marathon, it's different, and you've got to have that rage for that extra adrenaline, strength, and it's got to be it's going to be a terrible fight if you just think you're going to have a good fight. It just you're going into the fight unarmed.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's important to note, because I lived it too, and that piece you're talking about is, I say, essential. Like I think it's like on the front end of it, like playing the role, maybe deterring a fight or two, but once you're in it, that extra, say, gravitational pull towards the end of it, to kind of keep you through, keep you engaged in it. Because I mean, it's not a healthy mindset. Like, as you mentioned, it's not a healthy characteristic. But I guess when you're holding on for dear life, especially in my situation, it was like, holding on to a roster spot, and what you have to do just to hang on in there. There was no other choice. But I look back now, I could identify the unhealthiness in it. But at the time I was, in survival mode. It's just like, I just had to do it. I just had to jack myself up and hold that mindset, because it's a tough one.
That's you got to jack yourself up, and there's no sense in jacking yourself up 30 seconds late. You mean someone's fist is through your head, and and it happens quickly. The other thing, I think, comparing it to like boxing, is you don't know how long the fight's going to go. You don't know when it's going to start.
That's right.
If it's going to start. You don't know if it's starting off with a guy cross-checking in the back of the head, or someone sucker punching you, and if the guy's got you, or if you're at the end of the shift and you're tired. And there's just so many things that go into it. But it's happened, and it better be there second number one, because sure as hell the other guy's got it, and you're going to be wearing some fists, and they hurt.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure.
That's the truth.
It's crazy.
Well, we appreciate all the insights, Ben, sharing some stories, talking about your book a little bit there, or the book that you're, the story of you. So I know we're creeping on an hour here, and you got a life to live and some people to see. So we appreciate the time.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's a lot of fun going back through these crazy times with you, and I give credit, and this is a little plug to Scoop Malinowski, because if he didn't do this and didn't write the book, it wouldn't have triggered all of this. And it's nice that some of these stories get shared, and you're doing a little bit of behind the scenes stuff that people don't know about, but I think are interesting. So I hats off to Scoop and writing the book, and I hope you guys have me back. I could be full of shit and tell some more stories, but have me back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And it was great catching up to you. I haven't seen you since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I, always, like I said before, my dad always spoke so highly of you, and I remember you as a kid, and I just thought about this: you two lefties,
Yeah.
two big lefty. I mean, you both threw them both hands, but two big
Maybe
lefties. I could center you two.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Skill guy dishing the puck out.
That's what we need. That's what we need. Good thinking there.
Big thank you to our friend Behn Wilson for hopping on.
Big bad Behn Wilson, man. You watch some of those videos. Oh,
yeah.
Just
he was
chucking.
tough.
Oh my God, was he
And
tough
mean.
and scary.
Scary.
It's like I know we brought it up a couple times, but like my dad would always say, like, he was a scary individual. Like, we kind of brought up getting into character and being like having that rage, man. He had people afraid of him.
I think some of his teammates were afraid of him.
And they were, Proppy kind of said, like we were talking about the one thing, I don't, he may have just picked his pocket on the ice, and Ben's like, I'm not having it. I didn't get a chance to bring it up with him, but I remember my dad saying he was like chasing him around the ice, and Proppy just fucking fly, like, get away from me, man.
Proper got into that 2-3 foot range there. He was talking about.
You don't want to be in that range.
You don't want to be in that range.
Wilson. No, you don't want to be in it. And my dad was telling me too. I meant to say to him. He called him. There was this show like years and years, like old show called MASH.
Oh yeah. MASH.
And Colonel Flagg was like a crazy, like he was pretty wild, and that's what my old man would call Ben. Yeah, and I meant to say that to him, but I know he probably would have got a chuckle out of that. But really nice guy, man.
Yeah.
He was always nice to me when I was a kid. I just remember, like, you when you're a kid, you don't understand things, and even people, like, even when they meet you, they would come up to you like, "Oh, what a nice guy! I can't believe he's out there chucking knocks," And I would see like Behn Wilson, just the nicest, calmest human. And then, it'd be at the game and he's just killing somebody. You're just like, you don't get it, but it's just part of the dynamic. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I appreciate Ben for hopping on.
Yeah, awesome. He wants to come
best.
back.
Yeah, right.
2.0.
Bring him back next week.
Calling you back next week. No.
Three interviews in 30 years,
Yeah,
and now he's back for 2.0.
He's having fun with it.
Hey,
he's having fun.
Nasty Knuckles.
Yeah, there's a few things we didn't get to, but great having him on.
Yeah, no doubt.
Great flyer.
Nast.
Is it time?
It's that time.
Clear
questions.
Our boys and girls. Clear. Yeah, it's good. It's right here. Look at if you're listening, you can't see it. It's really cool. It's a bunch of colors.
Look at it.
Yeah. Clear questions. It's time. Clear questions brought to you by Klyr Rum. Go to klyrrum.com/shop. Type in Nasty 2023 and get 35% off of your order. PA residents only, Riggs. Baller, what do you got?
We got one from Lefty Aces over on Twitter. He wants to know, do you guys think the NHL should assess fines to refs for provoking players, as in the Michkov incident?
Hell yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's some times where like that's not an easy job for one.
No,
and
for sure
we know that. We're friends with a lot of guys that are refs and have been refs, carry freight. Like, it's not an easy job when you're down there and you hear the shit. Like, I understand when they get frustrated and they've had enough, but I don't like the guys that have the attitude right away where you can't even talk to them, and then they they're dicks, but they never have to really answer. They say something, or like the other night, that whole fiasco. But I don't know. You could talk better about it because you actually played. But
well, I mean, they're in positions of power, and they can control the narrative of the game if they so choose. And you see this before,
right.
Whether it's makeup calls or lack thereof, or vice versa. But they need to be accountable too, right? And be held accountable. And I think in certain situations, like what you saw the other day, it was unnecessary. I don't think he needed to blow the whistle like that right in his face.
Right.
You know what I mean? To me, that's crossing that line over having power and being, the head of the snake as far as the official goes, but almost into that category of being a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think so. Sure. Once you cross over into that line, you're pushing guys' buttons. Like, what do you expect them to do?
Right.
And maybe not slap the whistle out of your mouth, out of your hand, but you're getting a rise out of a guy. You're challenging him. And I don't think that's necessary from an official, and I don't think it's necessary by anybody but maybe the opponents, right? You can push the guy's buttons, but not the ref. They're supposed to be like a neutral, police agency, if you will. So I see stuff like that drives me crazy, because it's just like, the refs that I had back in the day that, when they were just like normal and peaceful and like he stayed neutral, they were great.
Yeah.
But once they start flexing and, the arrogance comes out and the cockiness comes out, it's just like a whole other world of energy, both teams.
Right.
So I see stuff like that. It's just unnecessary. So I think the league should look at that, because yes, Michkov overreacted and he needs to control himself too, but I mean, it was prompted by the ref.
Right.
And he needs to control his emotions. He was probably irritated or frustrated for whatever reason, and you just don't do that. I think he's got to do the exact same thing I would coach, Michkov to be doing, is to not engage, right? Not to overreact, and to, you're gonna have to, bite the lip, walk away, turn the other cheek, whatever way you want to put on it. But to me, I think it'd be great to keep the refs accountable for stuff like that.
I
so
agree.
I don't know how that gets implemented or what kind of conversations, but I do know they're held to a very high standard. Like every game that's ref gets scrutinized, right, from the referee, tops of the referees and the league itself. So
they definitely
I'm sure there's
talked
discussion. It's just a matter of like, where's that line in the sand to start penalizing a ref for for something that we deem as unacceptable. So draw the line in the sand, Nast.
Gotta draw it.
Gotta draw it up.
We got one from Bonzi. Greg Bond 822 over on Instagram. With Juan Soto's large contract, do you feel that's coming in the near future for the NHL?
Not a chance.
Not quite in that
Never
league.
bringing in that revenue that their TV deal alone brings in. And where was it with Baller where we were talking about the baseball? What team was it? There were literally no one for Major League this year. Major League Baseball. I remember seeing a picture, a video.
No one in the stands.
I mean, where was it? That's what it was. I think it was. Oh my god, dude! How are you making any money when there's 500 people there?
No, you're not.
You're not. But back to about the question. No, that kind of money you're not going to see. I mean, you just saw Shesterkin, like that deal.
Yeah, that's upwards to 100.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And that's a lot. Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever see that in NHL.
No, I don't see that either, unless they absolutely expand these buildings out and get 40K fans per game, and the salary cap goes to 150 or something.
No,
but not anytime in this, probably our lifetime.
No.
Have Fun Hockey wants to know, which big contract NHLer was known for picking up the tabs?
Oh God, boys always looked after me. I know that. Big ticket guys. I don't know. I thought Peter Forsberg did it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Richards.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, I was staff. We were always really looked after by you guys. Whether it could be you, it could be any of the guys. But even if the players saw me at dinner, like I wasn't even sitting with them or something. Most of the time, I think people would come. The waitress or waiter would come over and say, "Hey, your bill's taken care of."
Yeah.
So. I mean, like I said, Richie comes to mind, like always. Ray Emery, I think Razor. Razor was great that way, man. I used
to
just
laugh. Leave piles of cake. Just
my God! He had we
spread it around.
We talked about the football that he used to carry at his Louis Vuitton wallet. It was like bigger, but he always carried cash. He had all his stuff in it.
Oh my gosh!
And I would be so paranoid when we would go out to have some fun
and plop it on.
He would just put it somewhere. It'd be hanging out of his back pocket. I remember I saw him lose it twice, and made me sick to my stomach because I knew how much cash he carried. Actually, when I would once in a while, I would get an expense check for a road trip, and I wouldn't have time to run by the bank, so I would literally get on the plane and I would sign the check, and I'd be like, "Razor, is Emory International or
the Bank of Razor,
Bank of Razor open?" I forget what we called it, and he'd be like, "Come on back." I would give him the check. He was like, "Give me the cash." We always had cash on him.
Yeah.
But it used to make me nervous. I remember the one night he lost it. I literally said, I was like, "Ray," he's like, "The football's falling out of your pocket. Just give it to me. Let me hang on to it. He goes, no, we're good. Literally 2 minutes later, he's like, nah, I lost the football.
Oh, God.
I'm like, no, you didn't. We got everybody up there with the light. We're in the club with the lights. Like,
Oh, God.
if someone picked that up, buddy, they took everything, the cash, and they dumped it in the garbage can. We should have probably looked at garbage cans. But anyway, he made me sick. And he was just like, oh, let's go get what do you call it? He went to we're at a casino, actually. We're at a club. And he went and got a chip or something. Like they gave him, or spot him some cash.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he had to pay it, but it was crazy.
Yeah, he was always
he was really good,
pretty
man.
liberal with his flow, with his cash.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
Miss him.
All right, we got one more. This one's from Flyers Nut 911. He says, talk about the pet.
What? Say that again.
This one's from Flyers Nut 911.
Okay. All right.
He says, talk about the passing of two incredible Flyers, McCrimmon and Zezel.
Oh, man.
You knew those guys.
Dude, I knew them. You talk about two just great human beings. And I'm not just saying that because I was able to know him. I was lucky enough to meet him and know him as kids. But even when Beast Brad McCrimmon, that was his nickname, he was one of the funniest. He was a loud guy, and he was always vocal in the locker room. I remember taking a bus trip up with the team. I was on the team bus to New York to Madison Square Garden because I don't know why, but I couldn't get in the truck with my dad and his staff. For some reason, it was weird. But just Beast, I just remember the whole trip. He was like talking and fun. Guys were dying laughing. But even when he was coaching in Detroit there, every time we were in town, he came over and he would sit in the afternoon and hang out. But just what a great guy. It was so sad, that whole thing. He went to Russia to coach.
Crazy,
and just awful.
Tragic.
And then Peter Zezel, like Lumpy, man, what a guy. God almighty. He was just such a nice guy. I remember he was he had signed with the Devils. And I was probably one of my last years with the Phantoms. Or, well, maybe not one of my last years, but in the middle there. And he was sent to the American League. And my buddy was a Quimby guy, and he was like, this dude, like, buys the boys lunch, like, almost every day. Like,
Really,
he was just one of those people. He came down, I was talking to Lumpy, we're in the hallway, and we're talking, I hadn't seen him in a few, in a couple of years or whatever. And this guy, he came back down after they skated, and he put $200 down. He goes, get all your guys lunch. I'm like, well, we got a team lunch. He goes, get your staff, you guys.
Way.
I'm
Nice
like,
guy.
dude, you don't have to do that. But he was just such a nice guy, man.
I've heard
so
that.
pleasant. Like even when I was a kid, just a great guy. And I mean, you can't say enough good things about either one of those.
Yeah.
One of those people.
Yeah, I've heard that about both of them. I didn't know either of them, but yeah, anytime their names come up, it's always the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just like how kind and how good of people they were, the
Yeah.
character. So it's a great question.
Yeah, they two really good players too.
Yeah, right.
And Beast was just unbelievable player. Yeah. Great guys. Great question.
Thank you. It's a wrap. It's a wrap, Nas.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, 183.
Wow, 183, brother.
Can't believe it.
184 is coming up.
Next week.
next week.
Wednesday.
Yep, do it. And we got a little Christmas break.
A little Christmas break.
I got to go to Pittsburgh next week too. We can talk about that next week.
All right, well, we'll figure that one out.
We'll figure it out.
All right, well, we appreciate you all, knuckleheads. If you got any good questions you want to ask Nasty or myself, feel free to send them in, shoot us a message. We appreciate you all. Until next week for 184, stay safe, knuckleheads.
See ya.